go. And so in 2021, we look at all these top stories and, of course, others that we can remember. We have in the studios, in the middle, Tekija, former head of radio news at GBC here, and a lecturer at the Wisconsin University College. We also have Cliff Ekofo, who is a journalist with the New Times Corporation. And on my immediate left is George Ramsey Benamba, a chief editor with the Ghana News Agency. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, maybe I may not see you again till next year, so I wish you all Merry Christmas in advance.
Many happy returns. You have really had a good year. You're a married man now, so you have a special Christmas.
Special expose. Expose.
And of course, I'm here to take lessons from all of you in terms of
no, you
marriage.
pay.
Pardon?
You pay.
Advice for marriage to
consultancy.
Seriously?
Consultancy, yeah.
Anyway, we shall be looking at that very soon. And of course, one topical issue that people are still talking about is Parliament, the impasse between the minority and majority. Let's start from you, Tekija.
Well,
any that you can remember, any that you know.
Well, I can only remember current occurrences. Maybe my other colleagues might talk about the election of the speaker and all that went on. But what happened during the election of the speaker should have told us that this parliament is not going to be the usual parliament we are used to. You know, we have what people might call a hung parliament. You know, it brings with it its own issues, where I believe consultation is key when you have such that kind of parliament. But we are not seeing so much of consultation. We are seeing, should I call it parliamentary conflict in inverted commas, you know, and disgraceful things that the people we call honorables shouldn't be doing, you know, fisticuffs and...
Don't you think disgraceful is a strong word?
Oh, well, if it's a strong word, I wouldn't like to use despicable. That is far stronger. So the simple word I can use is disgraceful, because these are people we call honorables. And they are doing things people might see as dishonorable. Fighting, throwing blows, throwing legs, karate, that kind of mix-up. You know, these are things you find in the ghettos when gangs are fighting. You understand? I was expecting them to use dialogue and gentlemanly demeanor to arrive at whatever conclusions they will arrive at where issues and challenges are concerned. You understand? So, well, a hung parliament, fine, but I think the honorables must deepen consultation. They must deepen consultation. They must see that they are working for Ghana, and so whatever decisions they take must benefit the people of Ghana. You understand? So far, this is just the first year of this kind of parliament. I pray that next year they will begin the year with a different kind of outlook, with a different kind of approach. They will go home now, they are on recess. They will go home, maybe think about what had happened, think about ways to move ahead, and think about ways to make their jobs attractive and respectful. Respectful or respectable. That's right. You understand? If they continue on this tangent, where on the TV screens we see them fighting, I'm sorry, people are not going to take them that serious. We used to see films like that from other countries. I would like to mention the countries. I believe all of you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. To be wrong if I should mention, because you mentioned the countries. But we've seen pictures of people jumping onto tables and throwing their legs and hitting people.
Exactly.
In certain parts of Africa, yes, in certain parts of Africa, little did I expect that I was going to see such drama play out in Parliament. And it shows you that whatever it is that that has brought about that thing is something very dear to the people of Ghana, something that we are divided about, this E-Levy thing. There are those who believe it is a good thing. There are those who believe it is insensitive. And it's all reflected in Parliament House. You understand? The opposition thinks it's insensitive. The governing parties, people think, no, we need it. Fine. If we need it, how do we sell it to the people? How do we make our people understand what it is? How useful is it to us? It is their duty to make us understand, not fight and throw legs and arms and slaps. No, that hurt me.
You know, one thing that I've heard people say is that ever since Honorable Orban Bagby was made a speaker, it seems like most of his judgments or most of his conclusions have always tilted towards his side, that is the minority. It's always like in opposition to anything that the majority brings on board. And that gives some sense of partiality when it comes to him being the speaker, and everybody should believe that he should have a neutral stance on issues in Parliament. What do you think about that?
Yeah, thank you. I foresaw this, except that, like Te said, there are two main incidents, and I wouldn't want to use the two main incidents to sort of denigrate the Parliament. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, some of these things do occur. It is the passion that is driving it. But in terms of consensus building, they have worked for a year. They have passed important bills, passed loans and all that. We didn't see the level of acrimony, which tells you invariably consensus had worked. Even with this particular budget, let me not even go to the budget first. Let me deal with even the election of the speaker. In spite of all what we saw that could be said to be nasty on the screens, it was consensus that ended up having as the speaker we have now. Because when the chaos broke out, I heard the leadership had to meet and then judge amongst themselves, and then a middle ground was found. And throughout, you remember during the appointment, the vetting and confirmation of ministers, we thought it was going to generate, but somehow they managed to scale it to the extent that people sitting outside the house had to start throwing stones at their members in there. So on the whole, yes, the night of the election of the speaker and then the budget over the past few weeks have been nasty. But then if you ask me to give a rating, it's a balance. We would have wished it hadn't degenerated to where we are now. But that should also tell you the passion with which certain bills are followed by members of Parliament. On the issue of the partiality or otherwise of the speaker, probably the first Parliament under the Fourth Republic, which was more or less a one-way Parliament, that of the late Justice D.F. Anand's parliament, we didn't see the accusation of partiality. But in the second parliament, which he happened to be the speaker, the minority at that time accused D.F. Anand of being biased against them. We saw it in the third parliament by the Right Honorable, the late Alajite. You understand? So all speakers have received the same level of passion and the same level of allegation. I don't know if it is the 7th or the 6th. I think the 7th. One MP had to plaster the mouth.
The 7th.
The 7th, in Parliament, all in protest against the supposed partiality of the speaker. So I don't think that is a problem. I think the reason why Bagbe's own is pronounced is also as a result of the near-hang Parliament that we do have. Because, like we say, you have your say and we have our way. Because we are dealing with numbers. At the end of the day, when push comes to shove, we display our numbers. In this case, the numbers are so thin such that you need to do a lot of background work. You have to use the whip system and use it effectively to be able to get the numbers. And that is why it looks as if the issue of partiality of the current speaker is quite pronounced. But I think by and large, yes, this is just the first year of the 8th Parliament. We have ended. It didn't start on a very good note, and it looks as if it is not ending on a very good note.
It has not ended.
If you take the two outliers, the first to the right and then to the left, would you say hemming in between all that happened? Would you use the two to rubbish all the two? I sincerely do not think so. But there are lessons to learn. And as an emerging democracy, we should be happy that some of these things are happening at this time in our democracy. We are less than 40 years. I'm sure by the time we get to the 50th mark, we would have crossed some of these major hurdles. And sincerely, you realize that when the speaker went to Dubai and came back, the apology he rendered clearly shows that he understands what parliamentary work is, and he took up the responsibility. So yes,
I mean,
it's not a very positive reflection, but we need to work and talk to people for people to continue to build consensus, because that is the way to go.
Okay, so then let's look at the nitty-gritties of some of the answers. Well, let's look at the 2022 economic policy and budget statement. Let's narrow it down to the E-levy thing that is creating a whole lot of hullabaloo.
Yeah, fine. Before I want to add up something too. You know, there's this popular saying that if you want to know if your Sunday will be interesting, you just check because it will be determined by the evening of Saturday. So if we wanted to know if 2021 Parliament was going to be very interesting, we should check on the 7th of January when they started.
That's right.
And that was the beginning of their troubles. We all saw the Carl Lewis's. We saw
the Bruce Lee's, the Van Damme's.
we had Marianne Jones and everybody. They were all in that parliament that day. We also saw people who specialize in chewing bylaws. We saw people who showed their skills in pugilism.
This is where I agree with Tekiche. It was disgraceful.
Disgraceful.
It was disgraceful.
We saw people who specialize in martial art and pugilism. It was all exhibited there.
People from Bukom School of Boxing. You know.
So that was just the beginning of it. As Cliff said, after all those things, they managed to pass a lot of bills because those ones were not controversial. And before I even come to the budget, I want to believe that this particular parliament is unique, and that is what is creating the problem. Unique in the sense that for the first time in our history, the Speaker of Parliament is coming from a minority party. And that has never happened in the annals of Ghana's parliament.
Political history, yeah, that's true.
So that might be because maybe we are not used to that system. They are still trying to adjust themselves warm themselves into that seat. And I want to believe that is what is creating the difference. Secondly, I also want to believe that.
No, if that is what is creating the difference. In terms of let's
terms of
analysis,
in terms of the violence, I'm talking of the
Has
violence.
it empowered the minority side to be more vociferous than they used to be?
No, I was just coming there because I also wanted to add, before you came here, I wanted to add that we also have different histories this year because the numbers have not been so close. I'm talking of majority and minority. As it stands now, 137.
137.
137.
Plus one independent.
One independent. Who decided to join the minority?
The majority.
Sorry.
Join with the other
join the majority.
To form the majority.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sure. So it is the reason why we have this kind of. If it was the days of 100 or 150 against 100, 150 against 80, because they have the
120.
Yes. Those days they had the numbers, so whether you like it or if 10 people decide not to even come to parliament, anything could be passed in their absence. But in the current current parliament, there's no way one or two people can afford to absent themselves when it comes to difficult and very useful deliberations like the budgets, because you do that at your own party's peril. And I also want to add that the people in parliament, I mean the MPs, a lot of them have taken entrenched positions. Let's talk about this parliament and the budget. The very day that the Minister of Finance presented a budget in Parliament, what did we hear from some of the minority members? They started that very day saying that we oppose it to the last day. It means that entrenched positions were taken on that very floor that the budget was presented to them.
That's what they do every.
Yes, they do. But to say that we are going to vote against all this because they know of the numbers they have. If it was in the past, they couldn't have said that.
So that's the difference.
That's the difference because this one, they can say it and still say it because they know the power that they have in their terms.
This one, they don't just have the say.
Yes,
They
have the way
a way of controlling the way.
Yes. So what is happening in the current situation that we witnessed last night? It wasn't a surprising. Did you hear anything? There was a budget, a bill that was presented. They were supposed to pass the budget for their vehicles.
No, they did not fight over that.
There was a budget that they had to approve to get vehicles for the MPs. Did you hear any fighting there?
No.
But even then, with this particular budget, from where we are now, it means virtually almost everything.
Everything has been it's just left with the e-levy. So that's what I'm saying. The e-levy is there because they think that they took an entrenched positions from the very first day, and that is what they want to achieve. I mean, the minority, and to some extent they have achieved because they have the numbers to do that. So let's look at. We're talking of consensus building. They have done that for other bills. How come this particular one they were not able to build a consensus? Is it because the majority is not attracting them enough to sit down to build that consensus, or the minority on the other side are not enthused about building that consensus? These are the issues we should be looking at. Because consensus building does not take one side. It comes with a lot of, it comes from both sides.
There was a meeting where even the minority leader,
yes,
per his own utterances, indicated that having been educated
on the
e-levy, he felt it was a good thing. But the 1.7 he felt was still high.
Yeah. That's what I'm telling you.
But because then, just a day after those public utterances,
fizzled out.
He came out to say no. Okay, even my initial agreement, which means don't forget we are also doing party politics.
Yeah. So Cliff, what I'm saying is,
of course,
even at the committee level, the finance committee, it was 13-12.
Yes.
And the 13 were from majority.
Definitely.
Because one had to
12 from it. So
12
from day one, I'm still building that point that from day one, entrenched positions had been taken. They could have come to a compromise. If I believe that they could have come to a compromise. Compromise here, meaning that maybe the minister and majority are ready to say that, okay, we want to reduce it, maybe the 1.75, maybe to 1.5 or 1.2, 1.3. Compromise here because minority are also ready to say that, okay, based on your explanation and what you have said, we know that it's going to benefit the country. Because this budget is not for the Minister of Finance. It's not for the Finance Minister.
Jonathan,
it is for all of us.
Let me come in. You see,
yes, it is for all of us. It's not for the Minister.
This time around,
it's for me and you.
You see, this time around with the e-levy, there were pressures on both sides. Mind you, if we are to pay that levy, there's no distinguishing between NDC and PP. We pay the levy as Ghanaians.
Sure. That's
so
what I'm coming to.
There were pressures from civil society. They were lobbyists. They were lobbied. There were people in this country who do not like it. There are people who do not understand it.
Okay, we have 3 minutes more to discuss.
So all
then
these,
we'll move on to others.
all these pressures came to bear on the members of parliament. You understand? So this kind of scenario creates a very tense atmosphere for both sides. You understand me? That was why I was saying that instead of what they did, they could have built consensus in such a way that they would turn out to educate us that, look, this is good for us, but maybe we think the 1.7 something is too high, so let's make it point something.
That's what I was talking about.
You see,
You understand?
For me,
That's what I was talking
where
about.
I have an issue with our parliament is that,
yes,
where I have an issue with the minority in particular is that parliament is about numbers and about rules of engagement. You have your say, I have my say. At the end of the day, if we are unable to build consensus, that is the reason why you put everything to vote. And the majority carries the day, whether it is large majority or simple majority. You understand? My challenge is where the minority is trying to stampede the processes by getting fist off. That is where I have a major challenge. Because if at the end of the day, like at the committee level, there was no consensus, what happened? You put it to vote. It was 13 12. The majority carries the day. They have their way. You understand? But to try and physically prevent people from doing, and Ted talks about educating we the citizenry. I don't think at this level, the citizenry have their own mechanism of protesting against policies. You understand? Government policies. We will do demonstrations, people will do picketing and all that. On the floor of the House, once the debate goes on, whether we agree or not, the motion is put on the table for voting. Once voting is done, the one who has the majority carries the day. Let the citizens
just like maybe Ramsey said, this is the first time we're having a speaker elected from the minority, and of course the dynamics is a bit new to them. I think maybe that's brought about all these physical fights. But I think, I believe moving on, they might have learned from their lesson.
It's a learning process.
It's a learning process.
That,
it should go on. We're talking about bills and stuff. We also had an issue with this LGBTQI plus thing.
Yeah.
Let's look at LGBTQ plus.
Yeah.
And the bill that was supposed to be passed, and all the issues that Sam George came up with.
The day we discussed it here, I said that I do not hate people who practice that, but I dislike it because I feel it's unnatural. I feel it is not something that falls in line with nature. So it's the same thing. It's unnatural. You understand?
Yeah.
And I do not think that anybody was born with it. It is a habit you pick up as you grow. Because no man can tell me I feel like a woman. You can never feel like a woman. Only a woman feels like a woman. You don't menstruate. Women do. Or how do you feel like a woman? You can't feel like a woman. You understand? All in all, the debate has been interesting in the House. When you look at the role played by...
They don't believe there could be a genetic explanation to it, where maybe the chromosomes in a person's body might be unbalanced.
Oh, you think God is crazy?
So maybe the X chromosomes may be more than...
You think God is...
chromosomes,
you think God is crazy? God is not crazy.
But people are born with deformities.
Of course. If you are deformities, but not that kind of deformity we are talking about. That is an attitude. It's a habit. You understand?
No, I'm saying that because you say somebody says he feels like
a woman, because that's what some people belonging to that kind of thing, that's what they say. That as for me, from childbirth, I feel like a woman. Can't feel like a woman. You're a man.
Jonathan.
Let me finish. You see, but I like the way it has all panned out in Parliament. The way some people of prominence in our country and civil society groups have all sent memoranda to Parliament on the issue, both for and against. And the role played by some individuals in championing this anti-LGBT kind of thing. You understand? We are yet to see the full debate and voting on it. And I hope come next year, when they will debate fully on it and then try to put it to a vote for us to have a law on it, we will not see the kind of things we saw a few days ago. Yeah. You understand? Because I believe that what happened 2 days ago must let them reflect and see how to approach issues which are controversial in a different way.
Somebody may say that, well, this bill is delaying because, well, of course, they're just marking time.
For what?
They're just marking time, and at the end of the day, those who are pushing for this LGBTQ plus agenda, will definitely have their way. But they're just holding on, just marking time.
Jonathan, some bills.
Because if this thing created controversy from day one and up to now, they haven't discussed it. I wonder what the delay is.
Jonathan, some bills have kept too long in Parliament. Some have taken as long as 20 years.
Of course.
20 years. Some have gone past
Past
Bill,
from the first Parliament to the seventh.
The information bill. When was
Right
it passed?
information.
Right to
Right to
The first-
information bill.
We passed it in the
Over 20
last term of the
years.
7th Parliament.
Over 20 years, that bill was on the drawing board.
28 years.
Yeah, so that's what I said,
Of
over.
course, you
Over
can remember some events that happened.
Yes, you see, it is not
Protesters
easy.
for this right to information bill. Some of them were arrested and all of those.
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
We said that they just didn't want to pass.
Jonathan, please. Let's move on. What I want to say is
No, I mean like with
no.
some of these bills, they
I'll
don't
come
want to
there.
pass.
I'll come there. Growing up as a child up to now, there are only two things I see people drinking water from. Maybe now you can drink from a bottle or something. We've been drinking water from calabash, cup, glass,
Even on our palms.
fine.
You know.
And eating, you either eat with your fingers, or maybe if you are privileged enough to have a spoon or fork to eat with. Since I was born, I have not seen people eating with their toes. They eat with their fingers, but they don't eat with their toes. So until I believe in what is going on, then until I see people eating with their toes, then I'll believe that what they are doing, time really changes in that direction. So it means for me, I know that we still, so yes, for me, if I say I've been eating with fingers, and I still eat with fingers,
The poetic Ramsey.
nobody has ever eaten with the toes before. If I see people eating with their toes, that whatever they are proposing,
But not
to-
everybody thinks like you do.
have you ever seen people eating with their toes?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, a deformed,
But in that case, the person
their
has
toe.
no arms.
Yes, very different. It's
different.
Yeah, quite different from. So until me, George Ramsey, Benambeba, until I see people eating with their toes, when I see it, fine. Then whatever proposal they make about this bill, I might change my view, which I know it will not come in my generation.
That's right.
Thank you.
So, for me, it's a no.
It's a no.
No.
Cliff.
I have been wondering, even the laws that exist on our statutes that seeks to ward us off this whatever nonsense you call it, how efficiently have we utilized them? And I have one major issue in this country. When issues occur, we fight, we push, promulgate very beautiful laws, and when it comes to enforcement, and then we falter.
I'm with you.
I remember the pressure when the tobacco bill passed, the noise. And I remember so vividly how Professor Bedu Akosa championed that. And then the bill was passed into a law. And in that law, it was illegal for people to smoke
In public places.
in public. What has happened to the Tobacco Act? What has happened to the Tobacco Act? So, I have said, yes, it will be good to strengthen the existing laws. Because don't forget, the laws as exist now, that thing you call is not legal in Ghana.
Of course. Yes.
And so I tell people there's nothing like pro or anti. The new bill that we are pushing is just to strengthen
The existing
existing
one.
law, not
That's it.
because somebody wants to come out with a law to make it legal and you are opposing it. Unfortunately, the media has not captured the narrative well for people to know that even without this new law, of course, we want to take it a step higher, a notch higher. What exists in our books?
Causes and effects. Let's look at what is actually causing this to happen. I mean, it seems like right now they are pushing harder.
That is why, yes,
their rights
society would have to be
recognized.
very proactive. And I'm happy we are being proactive, because probably those who are behind the promulgation are seeing into the future, that within the next 2 decades, a decade, 2 decades, if you don't take action now,
it will be too late.
It will be too late. So I'm all for it. But when you present the narrative as if one group wants it to be made legal in Ghana and another group wants it to be illegal in Ghana, then that is wrong. Because the laws we have now, incest is illegal.
It's illegal, yeah.
Sodomy is illegal. You understand? So, and these are all part of the whatever plus
That's
you
right.
call them. They are all elements within
Queer.
it. And so there are laws that already made some of those practices illegal. Nothing wrong with taking it a step higher and tightening the knot to ensure that we are not caught unawares in the next decade or 2. So it is all good. But then, even as we push for a tightening, we must also push to ensure that what we already have in our hand are utilized and utilized effectively.
You have
I am
30 seconds more.
I am neither for
wrap up on this.
nor against, because I have listened
Take a
to
stand.
both.
Cliff, take a stand.
Ramsey,
I have
I'm
I-
with you.
I- I-
no.
I have listened
no,
to
no, 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 no.
people are talking about rights.
Oh, their rights are not,
I think they have
not
a
my
right.
rights.
No,
Right?
no,
My
no.
rights
I am
to have
prepared.
no,
I dare you
no.
to take a stand.
I am prepared to listen to them. Those who have a right. And I am not a fan of those who also want to do whatever. I have said, if you decide to do it in your bedroom, that is your own cup of tea. What I will not entertain is trying to foist it on me.
That's right.
That one I will not entertain.
But Tekichi has been saying that.
Yeah, that one.
Even the professors that
I will
came
not.
out.
But I think it's happy because how many professors? The 18 wise men, eh? The 18 wise men.
There's one profound question that Tekichi asked
Yeah.
that day when we were discussing it. He said, will they allow their own children to partake in such acts?
It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes if you are called as an advocate to go and defend armed robbers,
No,
if you are an advocate to go and defend an armed robber,
I still think about
ordinarily,
that. So I use it whenever there's an argument on this.
ordinarily,
Will
you
they
understand?
allow their children?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And I
But
think
you
we have to
push
listen
others to do it.
because you see, sometimes when emotions are down, I have listened to the kind of argument they make, and somehow I
It makes
see
sense to
some
you.
level of
Some logic.
Yeah, some logic in what. But society is quite dynamic, where the majority
Carries
wants
the
us to go.
we go.
Why not? We'll
Well,
go.
logic is
That's
not
it.
absolute.
It's not about majority.
Let's jump to
It's about God and nature.
one devastating issue that is still, of course, a topic that we're still grappling with is COVID-19. And, the mutations that we keep having from Alpha, Delta, Omicron, and all of that, all these kind of variants.
And they're coming.
What are we looking at? What are we looking at
Omicron.
come next year?
Well, I believe that this whole thing is novel, that is new. That's why they call it novel coronavirus. Scientists are yet to fully understand it. But we've been able to come up with protocols to at least lessen the effect. One is vaccination, 2, masking up, social distancing, and others. But our way of life in society is such that these protocols, apart from even the vaccination, are a bit difficult for people to adhere to. You understand? For example, mixing up.
Despite all the education, public education, and the restrictions,
We
and
have
everything.
been living we are living in a certain way or direction for a long time. It will take time and a lot of education. But as I said before, it's all about common sense. As I said before, it's all about common sense. And it's all about you appealing to the conscience of people that, look, if you are not safe, I am not safe, he is not safe, we are not safe. So let's do things in such a way that we do not aggravate the situation. That we can check this thing until a cure properly is found, which is not going to take a day, it's not going to take a year, it will take some time.
1 minute.
You understand? So, for me, I see next year as a year for us to fully understand what this thing is all about. And for us to get a little bit used to the protocols, and for people to get convinced that you need a job.
That's right. You may be trying to fully understand the whole dynamics of this, the whole phenomenon, and then all of a sudden a new variant comes up again.
So
A stronger variant from Omicron.
that is why we all have to go in for the vaccination, because all the other protocols have been exhausted. If you look at the nose masks, people are losing their guard towards it.
They don't even
I attended a program on Saturday.
Thank you, Jay.
And
they don't even
about 80% of the patrons of the program were not in nose masks.
Maybe they
Those who had them on their chins and not on their nose. And I was just saying to myself, in fact, those of us who were wearing the nose mask maybe were seen as, in a common parlance, two known people.
Are you?
So, what I want to emphasize here is maybe we should just channel our focus on the vaccination. I'm not interested in going for the vaccination. There have been bells ringing all over telling people that points, giving them points of vaccination, and yet they are just not interested.
It's all about
They are giving all kinds of theories about the vaccination.
It's a universal thing.
And I think that is where we should continue to encourage the people to do, because that is the only way out now. It is not to, I mean, after taking the vaccination, you are not totally out of the wood.
That's right.
But at least you are about 90% secure. And you are sure that if it comes, if you get it, it might be mild on you, or you might survive it at the end of the day. If somebody who has vaccinated will still suffer mild symptoms and other things, what do you think that somebody who has not vaccinated at all, what do you think it will happen to him if he's infected with the Omicron or whatever, is it Delta or what? In fact, we've gone past a lot of them. We don't even, they are not. So, for me, my advice to the people out there is that some of us have taken it. We are the pathfinders in terms of the vaccination. We are not scared. They shouldn't wait like Cliff's friend until he gets an international appointment before you start running around to find out where to get a place to vaccinate. Right. I think that vaccination is not injurious to anybody. And I haven't heard anybody. I've heard of people complain of a few things, but I haven't heard that the vaccination has hospitalized the person for this.
Well, so
no, I'm yet to.
Yeah, we've heard of side effects.
So yes, fine. Side effects are normal, in fact, because we all have different body chemistry.
That's right.
So there was even a rumor that somebody actually died from taking the vaccination, and from our verifications and checks, it turned out untrue.
It turned out to be untrue, but even if it turned out to be true, that was not ruled. It is
the margin of error. The margin of error is very.
But you see, with the current pandemic we are experiencing, I think science has become its own undoing. Science has become its own undoing.
I like that.
And it is largely because of the speed at which we were able to discover the vaccine to act as the antidote to it.
You think it was rushed?
As we speak now, I think the last major pandemic before this one was what came to be known as the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Just after the Second World, somewhere around 1924 or so.
Way back.
And within 5 years, about 50 million of the world's population died through Spanish flu. Ask any medical doctor or any pharmacist how they struggled to come out with the penicillin that became the antidote, and how people were falling over themselves just to have access to penicillin.
I believe I was told it took like 4 years or something.
About 5, between 4 and 5 years. You understand? This one, less than a month, we were able to discover a vaccine. And so then it gave room for the conspiracies. As for people not wanting to vaccinate, it is not a Ghanaian problem. I was just talking to an uncle in Switzerland 2 days ago. 2 days ago, Switzerland, 11,000 people recorded positive in a day. And about 90% of those people were people who had not been vaccinated. Switzerland is a sophisticated country. Highly educated population.
Did they refuse to take the vaccination?
If you are taking 90% out of 11,000, that's a huge number. And that is people who have been infected. And so, as sophisticated as they are, as educated as they are, if they are yielding to conspiracy theories, then me here with my cousins at Choco and Lante Maham,
Cafe,
where we only believe what we see, touch and feel, and we are not touching and feeling dead bodies, then we only have to continue the intensification of the education. It is not just in Switzerland.
Cliff, you have 30 seconds.
In the UK, in the US, they're having the same challenge. But the science of it is that about 90% of all those who are being infected are those who have refused to go for the vaccine. And those who get to the terminal stage of the disease are those who have not been vaccinated. Those who have been vaccinated, a few are getting, but they are able to survive and come back alive again. So I say maybe the speed with which the vaccine was developed had become the very undoing of science.
That's right.
You understand?
Making. Let's try to wrap up with the issue of disasters, tidal waves, road accidents. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah. With the issue of tidal waves, I come from Ada. I live along the coast.
I'll give each of you 2 minutes.
Yes, I live along the coast. So I've seen the destruction of tidal waves firsthand. And I can tell you that the kind of land that the sea has taken in Ada is bigger than 2 Accra Sports Stadiums. You understand? So the issue of tidal waves have been there. But there are ways of checking them. Could be climate change has worsened them. So these are things that we have to look at and see how best we can safeguard our coast against the ravages of tidal waves. but they've been there for years. But when it comes to accidents, especially during this tide, this Yuletide, and the way we go up, we talk, and yet people keep on dying, and they tell you it's all about the human factor. I don't drive. No, I don't know. Doesn't mean I don't know how to drive, but I don't drive because I cannot cope with the kind of indiscipline on our roads. We're so indisciplined on our roads. I shout more than my driver. You understand? I could drive when we go to Adam, where it's cool to drive along the coast. But to drive in the kind of traffic here, I don't have the heart for it. It's all because of the indisciplined nature. You understand? And that is causing us a lot of problems in terms of the number of people who die. Because of the way we drive. And enforcement is also a problem. You understand? So if we are able to strengthen our enforcement and educate people that you don't need to overtake 3-4 cars at a time when you cannot see ahead of you. That is stupidity. You understand? That is stupidity. You don't see ahead of you, yet you want to overtake 4-3 cars only for you to go and crash into someone's car head on and kill people. So it's discipline and enforcement.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
George.
Yeah, the elders say that if things are cheap on the items are cheap on the tree,
The tortoise.
a tortoise should not be taken off by itself. But on this particular case,
Say it again.
if you hear that things are cheap on a tree,
On top of a tree.
on top of a tree, a tortoise should not be taken off by itself. Because it can't climb, the tortoise cannot climb.
Ramsey, you have 1 minute more.
If people are talking about tidal waves living along the side, ideally, a desert boy shouldn't be talking about that. But of course, we are all Ghanaians, and I've read a lot about those things. I've been to the seaside myself, and I've seen the way some of the housing and some of the way it comes up to the houses. My only advice I also have for my people living along the coast is when they are building, they should stay far away from where you will never know. Sometimes you might think it's 100 meters, 200 meters away. But when the waters are, the tides are so high, the waves are so high, it gets closer to wherever you are living. And I believe that they never expected some of those things to happen this year. Right. Going back to the road accident, I think that he has said it all. We all need to be very careful, especially during this Yuletide. This is the time people want to make, I don't know why they rush. Maybe you are going to your hometown to go and spend Christmas. Just take your time, drive the normal driving. Other commercial drivers would like to maximize profit. This is the time for everybody to learn to be calm on the road and respect all the road signs. I believe that if we are able to respect all these signs and respect other users of the road, at the end of the day, we'll come out cleaner than previous years.
We're talking about disasters, and one will have to do with the scientific means, and the other will have to do with behavioral. Cliff, your final words.
Both are scientific. And I have said time without number that we need sweeping reforms in terms of our, especially public road transport in the country. And it is not just to curb the carnage on our roads, but if we reform our road transport sector, probably we may not be here even talking about e-levy, because that could become a major source of revenue for the government, if indeed. So, how many people have died since the outbreak of COVID-19 in the country.
1,000 plus.
We are still less than 1,800. And just the last 2 quarters of this year alone, over nearly 3,000
people through accidents.
Their life. So, accidents and how our transport systems operate, non-negotiable. But this time we should have people thinking deep into how to reform transport systems in this country. Without that, we will always come here, talk about attitude, but to change attitude itself is a scientific process.
Yeah, very big.
It is not just appealing to people.
Yeah.
You need to understand the science behind it to be able to appeal to people to conform.
Okay.
And then
You have
back
15
it
seconds.
by laws and all that. As for the tidal waves, indeed from Hafasini to Aflao, we suffer heavy sea erosion. Unfortunately, the way our ocean, our winds move means the further east it gets, the more devastating it becomes. And I'm sure as a country, we should be able to come out with a policy with how we manage our coastal resources. Because if we have a clear-cut policy that ensures how we develop our coastal resources, then we'll be able to know where we need to put settlement, where we need to put how do you call it, embankments and all those things, so that we can save ourselves from the perennial tidal wave disasters.
The person you just heard from is Cliff Akofo, a journalist with the New Times Corporation. We have in the middle Teki Chair, former head of GBC Radio News and a lecturer at the Wisconsin University College, and George Ramsey Benamba, chief editor with the Ghana News Agency. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being in the studios with me throughout the year. I believe that we've all learned our lessons from events that we've had throughout the year and whatever we've discussed. Let's hope that next year brings us better lifestyles, good attitude, and of course the kind of change we want in this country. My name is Jonathan Thompson, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas in advance and a Happy New Year.